Satoru, a 29-year-old, leads a mundane life, struggling to make ends meet as his dream of becoming a manga artist doesn't pay the bills. To support himself, he works as a pizza delivery boy. Despite the ordinary appearance of his life, Satoru possesses an extraordinary gift known as revival. Occasionally, he finds himself sent back in time by a few minutes, allowing him the chance to avert impending disasters. One day, during a routine pizza delivery, Satoru experiences a revival and manages to save a child from an oncoming truck, but he himself gets hit in the process. In the hospital, his colleague Eri commends him for his bravery, and after being discharged, he returns home to find his mother, Sachiko, taking care of him and planning to stay for a while. During dinner, Sachiko brings up a dark chapter from Satoru's past, a series of kidnappings and murders in their town when he was just 10 years old. His childhood friend Yuuki was wrongly convicted for the crimes. Later, when Satoru and Sachiko visit a shopping center, he experiences another revival. This time, Sachiko prevents a little girl's abduction, and she begins to suspect that the perpetrator is connected to the past kidnappings. Unfortunately, before she can share her suspicions with Satoru, an unknown man breaks into the apartment and kills her. Satoru returns home to discover the tragic scene, and in a panic, he escapes arrest by the police. Running in distress, Satoru finds himself in a strange environment. When he regains consciousness, he realizes that his last revival was exceptionally long, sending him back to 1988 when he was a 10-year-old schoolboy in his hometown, the year of the kidnappings. After his initial bewilderment, Satoru comes to the realization that he has been given a second chance to prevent multiple tragic events, the kidnappings of 3 children in 1988 and the murder of his mother. Overjoyed to have his mother back, Satoru decides to prevent the first kidnapping of his classmate, Keo. To protect her, he makes an effort to befriend her, but he soon notices signs of her difficult home life, such as her reserved nature and bruises on her legs. Impressed by Satoru's dedication, his friend Kenya shows him a text titled "The Town Where Only I Am Missing," written by Keo. The heartrending story hints at the abuse she suffers at the hands of her mother daily. Determined to change the course of events, Satoru invites Keo to his upcoming birthday party and discovers that they share the same birthday, March 2nd. He calculates that March 1st must be the day when she gets kidnapped, giving him exactly 11 days to intervene. While searching for Keo in the park, Satoru unexpectedly meets Yuuki again and spends a pleasant afternoon with him, solidifying his belief that Yuuki could not be the cruel murderer he was convicted of being. This realization gives Satoru another person to save from tragedy, Yuuki, who is facing the death penalty in the present year, 2006. Continuing his search for Keo, Satoru finds her in a shed at her home, covered in bruises and scantily clad. However, Keo's mother, Akemi, discovers them and orders Satoru to leave. The next day, Satoru confides in his teacher, Yashiro, who had suspected Keo's abuse but was unable to get the youth welfare office involved. In class, when Keo is falsely accused of stealing lunch money, Satoru and Yashiro quickly put an end to the accusations. As the abduction date approaches, Satoru surprises Keo by taking her to the local science center, keeping her away from her mother. While there, he experiences a strange sense of déjà vu and recalls being at the science center 18 years ago. On the following Tuesday, known as Day X, Satoru spends the entire day with Keo at the youth center and later accompanies her home. As the night progresses, he keeps a watchful eye on Keo's house until midnight, relieved that no major events seem to occur. The next day, while shopping for their joint birthday party, Satoru experiences yet another déjà vu at the supermarket. Back home, they are warmly welcomed by their friends and Sachiko, and they enjoy a joyous celebration together. Feeling content and hopeful, Satoru falls asleep, believing that he has succeeded in altering the future and preventing tragedy. However, the next day, Satoru is distressed to find that Keo is missing from school. He realizes that while he may have delayed her disappearance by 2 days, he couldn't prevent it entirely. 6 days later, another girl named Aya from a neighboring school disappears, mirroring the events from 18 years ago. Witnessing Akemi coldly disposing of Keo's belongings adds to Satoru's desperation, and he runs frantically until he suddenly finds himself back in 2006 as a 29-year-old man, still a suspect in his mother's murder and wanted by the police. When his restaurant manager contacts him, Satoru initially believes he can find refuge, but it turns out to be a trap, with the manager conspiring with the police. Fortunately, Eri comes to his rescue, believing in his innocence, and hides him at her house. As Satoru gathers information on Keo's disappearance, he realizes that his actions had some impact on the future but not enough to prevent the tragedies fully. To evade the police and protect Eri, Satoru seeks refuge under a bridge. Unfortunately, Eri receives a threatening message on her phone, seemingly sent by Satoru, and her room is engulfed in an explosion. Satoru rushes to her burning house and manages to save her with the help of the restaurant manager. While fleeing, Eri discreetly places her phone in Satoru's pocket. Upon reading the message on Eri's phone, Satoru contacts a former journalist colleague of his mother's, Sawada, to learn more about the official reports from the 1988 kidnapping series. Satoru discovers that all the kidnappings were orchestrated to frame Yuuki as the perpetrator. Sachiko likely learned the true identity of the actual culprit and was subsequently murdered to prevent her from revealing the truth. Later, Satoru and Eri reunite under the bridge, and Eri shares her suspicions about a man named Nishizono being behind the fire at her house. Suddenly, the police arrive and attempt to arrest Satoru. Despite being handcuffed and about to be taken away, Satoru knows he must continue his mission. He manages to force another revival, this time back to the year 1988, arriving at the Science Center on February 28th, where his first deja vu had occurred. Given a third chance to change events, Satoru is approached by his friend Kenya, who notices the significant change in Satoru's behavior and offers to help him save Keo. On March 2nd, Satoru and Keo celebrate their birthday with friends once again, but he briefly leaves the party to create an alibi for Yuuki, ensuring the police's focus is on him. Satoru then plans to confront Keo's mother, Akemi, but Kenya prevents him from resorting to violence. Instead, Satoru proposes a new plan to Keo. He suggests that she kidnaps herself with her consent, hiding in an old, abandoned bus for safety. However, during their stay in the bus, they encounter a disturbing incident where an unknown man enters, leaving Keo shaken. On March 3rd, Yashiro informs Satoru that he has involved the Youth Welfare Office, but they find Akemi's house empty upon their visit. In the bus, Keo points out a backpack and cardboard box that apparently belonged to the intruder. Upon inspection, Satoru recognizes the kidnapper's tools, realizing they are now entangled in the perpetrator's territory. Concerned for Keo's safety, Satoru decides to take her to his home for the night. On March 4th, Keo returns home with Satoru and Sachiko, her mother becoming furious about her daughter's disappearance, only to be confronted by officials from the Child Welfare Services. When Akemi attempts to take Keo to the police, she is stopped by her estranged mother, who apologizes for not supporting her more during her abusive relationship with her ex-husband and as a single mother. They reconcile, and Keo's grandmother promises to take good care of her. Grateful for his intervention, Keo thanks Satoru for saving her life. With Keo safe, Satoru focuses on the next victim, Aya, from the neighboring school. He observes her behavior and daily routines, and during his investigations, he happens to meet his mother and teacher, Yashiro. Satoru becomes suspicious when he finds a pile of lollipops in Yashiro's glove compartment, which the teacher tries to dismiss with a weak excuse. Satoru and his friends introduce themselves to Aya, and Kazu manages to persuade her to visit their secret hiding place, making Satoru feel she is in good hands. Now turning his attention to the third victim, his classmate Hiromi, Satoru learns that Misato had been excluded by her classmates since falsely accusing Keo of theft. Following Misato to the hockey rink, he encounters Yashiro, who informs him that Misato has left. They decide to chase a van linked to Yuuki's family, but Yashiro reveals himself as the true culprit. Yashiro holds a grudge against Satoru for foiling his plans and lures him into a car, which he drives towards a frozen lake, leaving Satoru trapped as the car sinks into the icy water. Satoru's consciousness jumps back to 2003, where he wakes up from a coma. His mother had diligently cared for him for 15 years, and with intensive physiotherapy, Satoru starts recovering control over his body. However, his memory of the past events is lost. Kenya and Hiromi visit him, helping him piece together his past. Later, Keo also visits Satoru. After waking up from his coma, Satoru discovers that Keo is now happily married to Hiromi and they have a baby together. Another familiar face, Yashiro, now using the false name Nishizono, is a successful high-ranking politician and takes advantage of Satoru's memory lapses. He pretends to be the concerned class teacher, visiting Satoru regularly in the hospital. However, Satoru's memories of Yashiro's attempts to kill him and kidnap his friends begin to resurface. Suspecting that Satoru is regaining his memories, Yashiro takes him to the hospital roof and confronts him about the events from 15 years ago. Despite threats, Satoru knows Yashiro cannot harm him because they share a deep connection. Satoru's friends, Kenya and Hiromi, have learned about Yashiro's true identity and intentions, and they have orchestrated a plan to catch him in the act. When Yashiro tries to jump off the roof along with Satoru, he discovers that Satoru's fall has been intercepted by Kenya and Hiromi. The police arrive just in time and apprehend Yashiro for attempting to murder Satoru once again. Years later, Satoru fulfills his dream of becoming a successful manga artist. One day, while taking a walk after work, he unexpectedly meets Eri, who was there with him under the same bridge when he experienced his last revival, unknowingly saving many lives. With his past behind him and surrounded by friends and loved ones, Satoru's life has come full circle, and he is finally living his dream. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more anime videos.